It was just such a divine process starting this business. I had no plan. All that I saw was a gap, and I think that the Lord used that. Students were treated as almost like a second-class citizen. They were treated very poorly. I mean, we put food on people's table. Like, we have staff and we provide, and we're a reliable source of provision to create generational wealth for, everyone here knows that I believe in Jesus. If you're not encouraging people every day much more than the world, then something's probably wrong. Right now we're reading through the New Testament together. GPS, you just stare at the screen and go, but this requires a little bit more of like actually paying attention to it. So, we're here every day working, building our tents and doing what we're doing, but at the end of the day, our hope is in Jesus.
Only 3% of the church will work full-time in the church. That leaves 97% who are called out to the marketplace for kingdom impact. They are known as the outsiders. Meet Jack, one of the outsiders. Jack, tell us a little bit about your business, man. What's the name of it and what exactly is it?
Yeah, so I own Parrish Aviation. It's a flight school. We train people to become airline pilots primarily. And so we've got about 25, 30 people on staff, about 11 aircraft. And so we're in the business of flight training.
That's awesome. And so how does Parrish Aviation allow you to reach those who may never enter inside of a church?
So we have people walking through our door every single day, whether it's people on staff, customers, potential customers, other vendors or contractors that we interact with. So we're interacting with dozens, if not hundreds of people every single day who don't know Jesus. And some people we have more of a consistent daily impact in their lives, and other people maybe a one-time experience, but there's a very significant impact versus being inside the four walls of a church. The majority of interactions are with people who already believe in Jesus.
So awesome. And then what's this plane over here?
Yeah, so this plane here is a glider, and this plane was brought in to kind of model after the Air Force Academy. So it actually used to be owned by the Air Force Academy. So we're starting all of our pilots in a primary and a glider so that they can really develop the skills of energy management and things that are gonna just build them a stronger foundation for down the road, making sure that they have, that they're equipped to be the best pilot they can possibly be instead of just checking boxes and getting them out the door.
I love that. And back to, again, reaching those who are out, like never gonna enter into a church, coming into your business, coming into maybe flight school or customers, what maybe aspiring pilots, like how did you know you were actually called to ministry marketplace? Like at what point was that like on your heart from the Lord?
Yeah, so since I was in high school, I was very interested in business. I had a landscaping business, I had a window cleaning business in ministry school, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. I went to ministry school for 2 years after high school, and after that, then I felt like the Lord was leading me to become a pilot, and then it was just such a divine process of starting this business. I had no plan to start this business, and the Lord just really opened doors. All that I saw was a gap, and I think that the Lord used that and led me down this path. And then turns out I'm no longer flying commercially or doing any of that, and it's full-time business. And I completely see this as my ministry, my full-time ministry.
Wow, and how is that, like that gap you speak of in the marketplace? It sounded like 4 flight schools. How did that develop, and where has it gone? Where has Parrish Aviation started out and gone to today?
Yeah, so I think that gap can definitely be seen as a kingdom reflection, where there were schools that whether I attended or worked at or just heard about, where students were treated as almost like a second-class citizen. They were treated very poorly. I'll never forget seeing a manager just destroy students' confidence at a flight school that I worked at. And so there's a huge gap in the way that people were treated, and it wasn't kingdom. And so I think that's a gap that we've stepped into as a flight school here in Dallas, where that's something that we're known for, is experience, and the culture here. It's a very, very different experience than would be normal in a lot of flight schools.
That's great. How, for Parrish, what is the vision going forward that God's given you for your company?
Yeah, so going forward, I really want to grow the school, to expand and be across multiple locations. So we're looking now at growing to Austin, Fort Worth, Waco, different areas in Texas where we can utilize our infrastructure here. And then on top of that, just really trying to build people up at the same time. So we've got people on our team now that I could see running with us for a whole career. And I'm young, so that's kind of an interesting thing for me to think about of, somebody else that's in their 20s, and I want you to stay with us and grow and pour into you and develop you as a person and a leader over decades, instead of it just being a 2-3 year kind of transactional relationship for people that work for us. And then ultimately just figuring out how the gospel can be proclaimed through business. And that's been just a huge question for myself that I've been asking the Lord and talking to other friends who are in business about, of how can the business be proclaimed in a way that makes sense in business, where we're able to be bold for our faith, but also is effective.
Wow, you've already beat me to the next question, and that's how does like what you do on a day-to-day basis and an everyday workday bring heaven to earth practically?
Yeah, so on a really practical level, I mean, we put food on people's table. Like, we have staff and we provide, and we're a reliable source of provision that way. Something that the Lord spoke to me a lot about is just creating wealth in general, and I see that of the people who come through our school may come from nothing. They may not come from a family who has much, but they're able, through our school becoming a pilot, to create generational wealth for their families, which is, it's just such a cool feeling to go home at night and know that people are creating a career for themselves where they're going to be able to really provide for their families. And I think that is absolutely the Lord's heart. On top of that, I would say for the people on the team who do have a relationship with Jesus, there's a huge opportunity to pour into them, but also the people who don't. And they might not know it, but prophesying into their life, giving them encouragement in these things. And
through encouragement specifically, because it doesn't have to be like dressed up as like, hey, I got this Bible verse from you, this word from God. It can just be, sounds like kind words.
Yeah, and so there might be times where the Lord, is leading you to specifically say, Jesus and witness to somebody. But I think there are also times to encourage and do the things of the kingdom. And just, that's what being a Christian is encouraging people. And I think that looks very different to people. And everyone here knows that I believe in Jesus, so it's not like trying to cloak it unnecessarily. Like, we are called to be bold and to share it. But yeah, I think if you're not encouraging people every day much more than the world, then something's probably wrong. And then on top of that, I would say even with our staff, the people who don't know God, I think that we are, whether or not they know it, we are training them in the culture of heaven, of honor and these different things, where they may not realize that we're training them in these things, but that's what's happening, and teaching them how to walk out the culture of heaven, and hopefully we see the fruit of that on the back end.
And that feeds into my next question too, because it sounds like you're already planting the seeds of the gospel, of Jesus' love in your business right now for your employees and the people who are coming in. How are some ways that you make disciples with your employees? It sounds like you went over a couple of them, but is that like an intentional thing for you? Is like, how can I constantly be making disciples? Or I want to hear about that.
Yeah, so with our team who are Christ followers, right now we're reading through the New Testament together. So there's a really practical way.
That's awesome. Okay.
That's pretty fun. So we're doing the New Testament in a month, and we're in Luke right now. So we're having a lot of fun with
How
that.
many businesses will read through a Bible as like their study book? You know what I mean? Like, just go through the book of Luke, of the New Testament, and just go through it. I mean, have you seen that like bring up any like fruit or questions even like in your?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that'll come up in our team. Like, we just had a meeting today where we're casting vision and coming up with ideas for how we can go after just extreme hospitality. And that's absolutely coming up in our conversations of stuff we're reading. So I think it has a direct impact when multiple people on the team are doing that, and then it's applied to the day-to-day with the business. There's other stuff we're doing as well, like we'll read books together and things like that. But I think a big part of it is just, any leader in general should be giving feedback, should be encouraging, should be correcting things. And I think that somebody who is following Jesus and, Matthew chapter 5 and these things is going to do that in a much different way than somebody else would. It's very countercultural, and I think it should stand out. So.
I agree with that. And we're actually going to head over here. It looks like you have some more planes this way.
Yeah. So we've got 3 more of our planes over here. A Cessna tail dragger, twin Comanche, and a Cessna 152 over here.
Man, they look absolutely stunning. What's your favorite plane, you would say, out of all of them?
My favorite plane is probably the yellow one back there because that was the plane that I learned to fly in.
That's so awesome.
That was my grandpa's airplane who taught me how to fly, and it's pretty special.
I'm butchering the name of it, but the self-start, what's that actually called?
Hand propping?
Hand propping.
Yeah. Have you seen that before?
I have not.
Okay. Yeah, we do hand prop that one right now. It's fun. It can be dangerous, but it's safe as long as you know what you're doing, take the proper precautions.
I love it. So Jack, what are the misconceptions that you believe the up and coming generations are being told right now regarding marketplace ministry?
Yeah, so I mean, I think when you look at it as a Christian, it can be distasteful to see, the Silicon Valley, the what's it called, the fund hedge fund bros and stuff like that. It can feel superficial, it can feel surface, but when me and my wife got married, she's full-time ministry her whole life basically, and so there was some butting of heads with, what is the why? What's the point of this? Do we just want to make money? What's the point of this? And so after a while, we kind of boiled it down of like, this is full-time ministry. Like what the Lord has called you to steward and to do. Like we can't all, like you said, we can't all be in ministry. We can't all be in the four walls of the church. Jesus was in the synagogues and he was teaching, and he was also out in the streets in the marketplace. And so I think there's just been like a bastardization or a setting that aside as something less. And I would say that if the Lord's called you to it, it's not less, and it can be your full-time ministry. And it doesn't have to be any less involved with the things of the Spirit and preaching the gospel, praying for people. There's so many opportunities, if not more. It is a ripe mission field in the marketplace.
And what would your encouragement be to the aspiring outsiders, or those who are wanting to eventually step into the marketplace, the up and coming generations who are wanting to go out and be the hands and feet of Jesus in the marketplace? What's your encouragement to them?
Yeah, so for someone in particular, if somebody's going to go into business in particular, I would say the biggest thing is you need a mentor who believes in the Lord and is doing those things. That for me has saved me so much time and headache. I mean, I was thinking about an analogy for that it'd be like trying to cross an ocean, and it's just these little course corrections that you end up actually getting where you want to go instead of Antarctica, so that's a huge thing that is necessary. And
having a guide. So in a plane, actually, on the controls, am I saying that right? The control.
Yeah.
Okay, so what like keeps you like directionally on course? Like what's that instrument called?
So we've got GPS, we've got a VOR.
Okay.
There's ILS, NDB. There's different navigation forms.
If you were to like humor me here and have a metaphor for that mentor, like what's that as an instrument in the plane?
Yeah.
This is just me nerding out.
Sure. I would probably liken it more to the VOR. I feel like that's a good one because
Okay.
it's not so obvious or so GPS, you just stare at the screen and go, but this requires a little bit more of like actually paying attention to it. So I feel like VOR is a good.
It sounds like if you didn't have a VOR in a plane, then it's a bad day, right?
Yeah, if you had no form of navigation, no charts, nothing like that, then you might have trouble getting where you're.
There's our analogy, man. It's without a mentor, you're not going to get to where you want to go, and it's the small course corrections. It sounds like is what I'm hearing from you.
Yeah.
That a mentor come in and help with.
Yep, 1,000%. I started this flight school at a good friend's couple at their dinner table, and they were 3-4 years ahead of me in business. They're about 10 years older than me, and their business, was doing 7 figures at the time. And so being able to follow them, have somebody that was ahead and just copy, what do I do for legal? What do I do for taxes? What do I do for marketing? All these different things. And they've just been so gracious and so giving of their time. And I think there's a lot of people like that in the church who are willing to do that. So even if it's not business too, if you're going into tech or you're going into teaching or anything, I think, get somebody who's walking out ahead of you doing the same thing.
That's amazing. And for like anybody who is aspiring to be a pilot, like what would be like next steps for them to actually get involved? It sounds like you may even have a solution for them.
Yes. So if you live in Dallas, if you live in Texas, you could come check us out here at the school. We do, tours, discovery flights are a great way. Go up in a plane for a half hour and see if you don't hate it. See if you You know, if you throw up every time you go on a plane, that might be a little bit of a problem. But if you're just interested in general, I would just search for flight school near me and go and do a discovery flight, and they'll get you taken care of.
So amazing. Do you have any last words to anybody who's watching this right now? Maybe they're on your channel, you're following, or even the Outsiders movement. Do you have any last words for them?
I would just say, read your Bible, be bold, and you know, I've been thinking about a quote from somebody that says, "Preach the gospel, die, and be forgotten." And may not be a theologically perfect quote, but there's something just so profound, I feel like, to that of you know, what's important and the eternal perspective there. You know, we're here every day working, building our tents and doing what we're doing, but at the end of the day, our hope is in Jesus, and we're waiting for him.
And I think that's beautiful, because Paul, actually, speaking of tent making, he actually said that he'd give his own salvation for those. It is speaking to about the Jews at the time, but he would give his own salvation up, knowing his relationship with God. He'd lay that down in order that they would receive it. So I think there's something so beautiful in the heart of the Outsiders movement, the heart of people like you in Parrish Aviation, is how can we spread the gospel? How can we be that 97% who's called out into the marketplace for impact and to bring ultimately heaven to the marketplace? Because these people, a lot of them are not going to walk inside of a church. And I think that your heart for that's so beautiful, man. It's been an honor and a privilege to even have you on the channel. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.